Man, I wish Just Watch would just sponsor us. It'd be like the perfect sponsor.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this episode, we're getting hyped for DC's Fandome, Mike.
You know what? No slights there. I'm actually excited too.
Yeah, I'm as well. Actually, this is very authentic. This is not a backhanded compliment here. So we're going to talk about that. Mike was very disappointed when Avatar loses its original creators for the live-action series.
Oh, I wish emojis had sound effects so I could play the sound effect of the sad emoji.
It's more like one of those sad trombones.
Yeah, or like a slide whistle, like.
Yeah, exactly. We hear it in our heads, Mike, and that's what matters. We've got some superhero video game deets and more.
Deets. I always love the deets. Got to find the deets.
I just don't want to say superhero video game news. Like, yeah, it's generic. Of course we got that. So I said deets. Get it hip. Maybe one day I'll have a TikTok, Mike. You never know.
Yeah, well, it's like one of the few things we can look forward to. Not a whole lot of movies coming out this year. The TV show releases are going to start to slow down as kind of the schedules have kind of halted. You know, because TV shows are always slated to release much later after they're created. So now we kind of like got the video games to look forward to, but also I'm sure those will probably start to slow down too. Especially if you like to play Fortnite on an iPhone or a Google Android device, you can't get into that right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a whole different beast. Epic taking on Apple and Google's, I guess, monetary policies in the App Store is the crux of this whole thing. So don't get me wrong, Mike. You know this. I just bought a brand new Apple computer. I have tons of Apple devices. However, in this regard, I think I stand with Epic. I think there's a time when you get too big for your own britches, and then you're the 1984.
Yeah, I think it was described. I think I saw it best described somewhere where it was like $1 billion corporation and a multi-million-dollar corporation like fighting each other, and you're just kind of like, I guess you just kind of stand back and just wait and see what happens because like you can't really do anything about it. It's also kind of funny because I believe if you've already had the app installed, it's still there. It's not kind of like how Apple in the past has like totally cut off apps before to cease them from working. So if you're already hardcore into mobile Fortnite, which I just can't fathom in my head, I could never play a shooter on my phone. But some people manage it. It's the Zoomers that understand how to use it. I don't get it, but if it's already on your phone, you're fine.
Yeah, I have it on my iPad, and I took it with me whenever I went out of town last month, and I actually won the only game I played on it. I don't know if it's because I played so much of the console version, and I had my Xbox controller hooked up to the iPad through Bluetooth. I don't know if that gave me an advantage and people were upset, but I did win the first game I played with on tablet.
You were channeling your inner Zoomer, and then right after you finished winning that game, you went on Instagram and you bought stuff that was advertised to you.
Yeah, I yeeted something.
Like the true Gen Zer you are.
Exactly, yeah. We purchased a lot of content through the internet. We're all in the snacks and stuff, and now we're diving into some more weird food stuff here. I've got brain boosting energy drinks and sodas coming in, and you've got chicken nuggets of some kind. So
yeah, we had some fans reach out through email and social media, and they were saying they were digging our little food reviews at the top of the show. So we'll keep that going whenever we come across some new stuff.
Yeah. We're always looking. That's all you can do right now. Because I haven't done much else. I was trying to think what I did this week to put in our Quaran-Steam because that's how we kick off our show, and I'm like, I haven't really done a whole lot. I think you and I got to play some Call of Duty this week together finally for the first time in a couple weeks. But I just really just kind of came home and just kind of zoned out for a bit, and then spent half of Friday putting up my laundry, getting myself together a little bit. So I feel better about that this week, and looking forward to a a week back at it, if you will. Yeah, I've scheduled out my lawn mowing for Tuesday. That's how ahead of the game I am here.
Oh, you just threw your fake Gen Z card away for sure if you're scheduling your lawn mowing.
Exactly. It's a battery powered lawnmower. So I'm like, meet me halfway.
You're like reaching up now out of millennial into like Gen X. That's what the Gen Xers are doing right now, mowing lawns.
Yeah, they could be. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But Mike, yeah, you watched some stuff here. One of them I recommended you watch and put together for you a while ago, but the other ones, this is an eclectic list, and you need to break down what made you choose these shows.
Yeah, we got quite a corn stream here. I won't belabor any of them too long because I think we got some fun news this week. But first off, a documentary series which aired on HBO earlier this year, a 6-part series. We're now 4 parts into it. It's McMillions. It's the story of how the Monopoly game in McDonald's has been fixed and rigged for years and years and years. I think once we get to the final episode, I think they'll finally put it together and let us know how many years it had been going on for. But from what we've seen so far, it seems to have happened for, I would say, maybe close to a decade. If not, it's always been rigged. So it's a fascinating look at how the FBI did the investigation, and it's a very easy, accessible documentary. Sometimes you'll watch something really fascinating, but it's hard to recommend to people because it's like, oh, you're going to be so sad when you finish watching this documentary about this person that went missing and all of the investigators did everything wrong and mishandled the evidence. Or you'll recommend something and it's like, oh, you got to watch this documentary, but you'll never be able to drink water again because all water is tainted and you can't consume anything anymore or you'll die. This one's a lot easier because everybody knows the Monopoly game in McDonald's. The stakes are relatively low for what you see out there compared to other documentaries of child war criminals in like different parts of the world. So this one's just fun, easy, setback. There's a standout FBI officer in this documentary that's just hysterical. He's the type of guy that, honestly, they would probably make movies or TV shows about, and he's a talker and he's hilarious, and you just got to watch it just mainly for this guy. I'll put it to you this way. The FBI, early on in this documentary series, sits down with a couple people from McDonald's to kind of tell them what they've uncovered. And this young hotshot FBI agent rolls into the meeting late, and he decided today of all days would be a good day to wear his golden suit. So it seemed like he was somebody that worked for a McDonald's, and everybody just had their face in their hands when this guy walked in. It's just hilarious. I imagine he was fun to work with, but also stressful. So he really makes the documentary. So check out McMillions on HBO. I don't know if you've heard of it, Chris. I don't know if you've heard of The Scandal at all.
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't played McDonald's Monopoly? I can't tell you the number of calories I've ingested to get those pieces. Did I ever win anything worth value? No. But they had me. They had me hooked to collect the things, and I'm kind of glad it's gone. But yeah, I'm familiar with it, and maybe I can get a chance to catch it later.
Yeah,
but continue.
Yeah, you got to check it out. So next up here on the Quaran-Steam, we have the new film that dropped on Netflix called Project Power, which we talked about a little bit on the show a few weeks ago. It's from a directing duo and then a third kind of writing partner that are all kind of teed up to make a Mega Man movie in the next year or two. Don't know if it's going to be live action or CG or what exactly they're going for. So this one, it was an original idea. I was surprised to see that something was being made that wasn't adapted off of something else that's considered a superhero property, but it stars Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it's out on Netflix right now. It was obviously number one in their kind of a catalog of movies, because whenever a new movie drops on Netflix, it usually goes to number one. But the wife and I checked it out. Do you think they have like people who just like here's new and they just go to new and that's all they watch? Oh, absolutely, because even when they add new movies that aren't technically new, like Kevin James's The Zookeeper, which is several years old now, that rocketed up to like number one or number two when it was added to the catalog. So yeah, it's just like, it's something different to the catalog. Let's check it out. So unfortunately, Project Power definitely fell short for me. There's no subtlety involved for a storyline that actually has a lot of interesting premises and a lot going on for it, but it's just they didn't really capitalize on any one idea. It seemed like somebody came up with this when they were just like, I don't know, sitting down having a beer, and then they got halfway through writing the idea down on a napkin and figured this was good enough to start filming. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is like the most underdeveloped out of all of them, and it made a whole lot of sense because I saw an article online this weekend that said, oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt completely improvised his backstory for Project Power, and it's just like, yeah, it totally shows. So I was excited to watch it because when the trailer came out the other week, I said that the special effects in it looked really, really good. You know, it might be worth it just to watch it to see the money that Netflix put into this high budget action film, and I think that's still fair to say. The special effects were pretty good for the most part, but there were some kind of cringe inducing parts where like a superpowered person who has like all of this time and attention put to their, you know, CG look, you know, knocks down a door, but then the door looks like it's could get a little bit more work done to it. So yeah, it's hard for me to recommend Project Power. I don't know if you've watched it yet, Chris.
No, I've not watched it, but that was I came across a review. You know, doing stuff for the show, you do get spoilers, you get early impressions, you get reactions. You do a better job hiding it. I don't care as much, and that was usually the impression. They're like, yeah, it's okay, but like it's not like, oh my gosh, game changing. You need to go watch this right now, kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the consensus I've seen across the board, but I think it was also competing this week. And correct me if I'm wrong. Birds of Prey landed on HBO Max.
I saw streaming, that.
So I think people's attention might have gone to that one instead of this as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. So Project Power, a little unfortunate there. Mm-hmm. Now, next up we have Guns Akimbo, which has kind of hit the digital streaming landscape this year. Right now it's streaming up on Amazon Prime. And this one, as you might remember, you might recall, stars Daniel Radcliffe in bear slippers, a robe, and he has guns bolted to his hands. And this is adapted off material, right? I thought this was adapted off of like a graphic novel or a comic or something. I'm not 100% sure. It seems like there was source material involved in this one. I'm
not seeing anything like that now.
All right. Well, here we go. We got another original idea. Now, for me, if Project Power was something where no subtlety was involved with the plot, the Guns Akimbo is the exact opposite, where the film is 100% all style, no substance anywhere on this film whatsoever. But unfortunately for me, the style was not enough to get me through this movie. The two leads, Daniel Radcliffe, and I forgot the female
Samara
lead.
Weaving.
Yeah, she was also in Ready or Not, which she had a good performance in that film as well, late last year. That's also streaming this year. When they finally get together in the film and they start having this relationship back and forth, you know, I started digging that connection. But there is some really cringy dialogue going on in here. There's a lot of characters that pick up the idiot stick, if you will, and do just the dumbest thing that the character could possibly do. Like I feels like I'm being like a downer at a party and like wanting a little bit of not realism, but it's just kind of like, okay, how good is this person with a gun, and then why all of a sudden in the third act they can't hit shit? Or it's the total opposite, where at the beginning of the movie they couldn't shoot anything, but now they can shoot and kill everything. So this movie wasn't necessarily for me, but I went online to see what people thought about this film when it came out, and it seemed like there was a handful of people that really kind of just dug the mindless action of it. So I personally wouldn't recommend the film, but I think some other people would very readily recommend it. I mean, this is one that you have seen, right, Chris?
Right. I mean, I reviewed it on the show a couple months ago, and I think I'm the other way. I think this is one of those things where it is so ridiculous. Like, we don't have enough just mindless movies, right? Like, everything just tries to hit the middle ground, and this one, I think it's one of those things. Again, the whole premise is there's this universe where like social media runs it, and I think that heavy-handedness was way too much. Like, don't get on social media, don't let it run your life. But in this, like, you get chosen by social media to go and do like 1v1s in the street. So it kind of made a lot of like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's in the future and he's in that game show. Do you remember which one? Was that Running Man? I think it's Running Man.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so it's a lot like a modern version of Running Man. And to think, again, everyone's seen the picture of Daniel Radcliffe in the bathrobe with the guns and the slippers, right? So there's someone where he runs his mouth too much online, and the next thing you know, he's in deep. I think the best part of this, and we'll talk about it later, but there's a rooftop scene at the end, and it's completely batshit crazy, but I'm like, I need a little batshit crazy in this movie just to have some fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things. I didn't stare at it. I didn't expect this movie to change my life. But at the same time, I was on my phone. I was texting you during it. Like, I was like, I don't have to sit down and watch it. This is like, how I would watch a Transformers movie these days. Like, I'm not gonna sit down and give it my full attention. Like, I can watch this, play on my phone, look back up, and listen to it.
Yeah. I would say that's a solid rec. That's a solid rec right there.
Yeah. But the other thing is the actress Samara Weaving, who looks very different in this movie because she's kind of like that cyberpunk look to a lot of these people in this. I'd say. She is in 2 big movies coming out this year: Bill and Ted Face the Music, and she was supposed to be one of the main characters in Snake Eyes that was pushed back to last year.
Yeah,
so
I think her career is really going to be taken off. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If I had to recommend a movie similar in tone, but I think effectively produces a better film, would be Clive Owen's Shoot 'Em Up. It's a similar style of film where everything's very bombastic, nothing's really grounded in reality, but I feel like the story's a lot simpler to follow. It's definitely more of a straight line, and I think a little bit more fun. So yeah, if you're looking for something like that and you've already seen Guns Akimbo and you liked it, I think you'd really like Shoot 'Em Up.
Yeah, I love Shoot 'Em Up. I think the difference is in Shoot 'Em Up, he's very confident in his abilities. In this one, Daniel Radcliffe is essentially playing if Harry Potter had guns on his hands a little bit, like just kind of clueless, like caught in the middle of everything, not knowing what to do. So I agree. Shoot 'Em Up's a fun, mindless action movie, kind of like Crank. Do you remember Crank?
I've never seen Crank, but I saw some people bring up that film when they were talking about Guns Akimbo.
Yeah, you should watch Crank with Jason Statham. That'll really get you.
Right.
But instead, you went a little further back. You adjusted your time travel knob for shows and movies a little too far and landed in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Let's bring it back to the 90s, too. Michael J. Fox double feature, which I think would be a delight for any household. So first up, in 1996, we have The Frighteners, which I learned a little bit more about this movie when I looked it up for the podcast so I could kind of talk about it a little bit more intelligently. But this was a film I watched many times growing up. And when I was much younger, it kind of scared me because this is kind of categorized, I would say, as like kind of a thriller horror comedy, if you will. But if you're a little on the younger side, you might be a little spooked because there's lots of really weird, bizarre characters in this film that I just loved how they're dreamed up. There's this really weird FBI agent that has all these weird quirks and tics. There's like these random like reporters that live in town that are just really hyper, just stylized. And I love everything about it. And then you have Michael J. Fox character, who is this paranormal investigator, which due to a near-death experience can see and kind of talk and facilitate actions with ghosts. So he teams up with this ghost duo, and they just go around haunting people, and then he sells his services to these people being haunted. And it's just a really fun premise. And what I didn't realize was this was directed and written by Peter Jackson, and it's a Robert Zemeckis film, and apparently Robert Zemeckis was going to be directing this movie, but I guess he got caught up with some other stuff, so he thought maybe this would be better for Peter Jackson to pick up. But yeah, I had no idea this was all kind of Peter Jackson's mind, and it was an original concept that was written by him and his wife while they were working on a project with Zemeckis, and I guess originally this was going to be a spin-off of Tales from the Crypt. So I don't know if they're going to kind of build it into a bigger universe, but now it's kind of this standalone idea. And the whole film, I was just like, I want more of this. I want more of this world. I want to see a continuation of this as like a streaming series. You don't have to bring the cast back, but continue this world of, I love this, lore that they've added to ghosts, that when you die you see the bright light, but if you don't go up in the light, now you're just like a ghost that's like festering and haunting, but you get your chance in like another year to go back up in the light if you need to. I want, like, there's just questions that are left in the world that strategically left unanswered to keep the plot moving, but you just want to know more. And there's a lot of special effects used in this from Weta that I'm sure Peter Jackson used a lot of what he learned in this film to go on to make Lord of the Rings a few years later.
Yeah, so this was all I know. There are two things. Danny Elfman does the music.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Great music.
Because it's very I mean, it kind of is to me Beetlejuice-esque in that regards. But Peter Jackson, this was a box office failure for him.
Oh, no, that
literally the next thing he made was Lord of the Rings. So like he went from like down low, real low, like horrible reviews, critics, like people were like not wanting to hire him, to winning the rights to Lord of the Rings. Like his climb back up that ladder was incredible from this movie.
Yeah, and I believe that it made no money because my wife had no idea the movie existed. So like I totally believe that this is not on anybody's radar. Now I'm not going to go ahead and say this is like the best movie all time that no one ever seen. It's not like an Oscar snub. There are some things that I think could be improved in the movie, but there's so much fun that's happening in the film, and you get to see like this Michael J. Fox kind of like hot off of his Back to the Future trilogy. So you got to go check out Frighteners. I loved it. It's great. It's streaming on HBO, I believe is where we watched it.
HBO Max, HBO Now, HBO Go, and DirecTV if you have it.
Yep. And now if you go back in time just 3 more years, you want a little bit of a lighter fare of a movie, maybe something you sit down and watch with a significant other. We have a film that we just randomly watched this week called For Love or Money that is up on Netflix, and it's this just nice film about Michael J. Fox, who is this this front desk clerk at a hotel, and I forgot exactly what his job title was, which is pretty ironic considering he made sure that people didn't call him a bellhop in the film. He's just kind of like the front of office person of a hotel. I just can't quite think of what that name is in the industry right now, but he's just this guy who's been saving his tips for like the last 10 years, scrounging up as much money as he can so he can put a business deal together so he can buy his own hotel. And it's just this really nice world that they build out with all of these different hotel workers. It almost feels like you're watching a pilot for a series where you're kind of getting used to all of his friends that he works with. And he's like this fixer where he really helps people out that works in his hotel. He's always swapping and selling tickets to concerts and stuff in town. He's letting the husbands know where they need to go to buy the best jewelry for their wives to make sure their anniversaries go great. It's totally the opposite direction from Frighteners. It's just a very low-key movie, but I just thought it was written really well. It's really funny. He's just a guy that knows how to get stuff done, and it's just really good, high-quality Michael J. Fox, and I didn't even know this movie existed. I just came across it on Netflix, and it's just fun. It's just a fun little film with a nice little romance that you might like to sit down and just have a nice time with your significant other. So, bam, Michael J. Fox double feature, Frighteners and For Love or Money, 2 films I would highly recommend, Chris.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm familiar with the Frighteners. For Love or Money, I think that's one of those movies I saw on HBO when I was younger. I was like, oh, what's this? But I always watched Doc Hollywood instead.
Okay.
For Michael J. Fox. I think they said his movies Back to the Future are on Blu-ray or coming out to 4K this month. So big year for Michael J. Fox.
Concierge. He's the concierge. That's right.
Concierge.
That's what it was. Yeah, people were calling him a bellhop, and he did not take kindly to be calling a bellhop. But check it out. It's a fun film. But now that the Quaran-Steam is over, I promised last week that we would give a couple shout-outs from people that reached out, fans of the podcast. So first up, we have fan Ollie Keller. Yes. Is that how you think you'd say their name? A-L-I Keller.
Ollie, yeah.
Yeah, they made this little superhero mockumentary that's up on YouTube that they describe as Christopher Guest meets Mystery Men, and we'll put a link in our show notes here. But I think you should go check it out. They put quite a bit together here. Usually when people are kind of putting little shorts or clips up on YouTube, you go to the clip and it's 4 or 5 minutes long. This is a legit 35 minutes of footage. You can tell there's location scouting and casting and costumes going on here. So I think there's a lot of hard work and passion that went into it. So if you want to check out and see what some indie filmmakers are doing out there with the superhero genre, go check it out in our show notes.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate stuff like this. Mike, my background's in film. I've worked on passion projects, spoof comedy TV kind of episodes before. So I definitely appreciate this, and what I agree. Sharing this, having everyone watch this, and thinking of all the work that goes into this, and doing it on no budget, on your own free time, probably while they have full day jobs. Very impressive. So very, very awesome.
Yeah, I believe the title of the series or short or whatever they want to categorize it as. I believe it's called Zero Issue. So if it's something that you wanted to Google and couldn't quite reach the show notes, it's called Zero Issue over on YouTube from New York Picture Co. That's the name of the channel. So go check it out. A lot of hard work it looks like they put into that.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners who started his own podcast/video show, Pasquinelli's Point. You can find that on Instagram, Pasquinelli, PASQUINELLIS_point. He's out here. He said he loves our little food reviews we do. I think a lot of people enjoy that, and we mentioned at the top show. And he's out here doing some of his own food reviews and his own stuff and his podcast. So I just want to give him a shout out here. He ate recently some nasty cupcakes is what I think the description was, which is entertaining to watch, or nasty brownie challenge. So you can check that on YouTube. It looks like he's a food reviewer and does sports, movies, TV, comics, music, video games, and more, kind of like what we do. So you can check him out on YouTube. Our links in the show notes as well. So if you want to catch out some other stuff, because we only get you an hour and a half maybe a week, so if you need more content, you're gonna need more to get through a week's longer than an hour and a half. Last I checked. So give him a follow on YouTube and a follow on podcast.
Yeah, if anybody else is working on some just cool bootstrap stuff, reach out and let us know. We'd love to check it out.
Yeah I was telling Mike yesterday, I'm always playing with our channel, and I was like, we can add chapters to our YouTube channel now. And by now, I mean months ago, and I've just been an idiot and forgot one small step along the way, Mike.
Technology.
So, yeah, always looking for the next big thing. And then, I think Pasquinelli's Point, they asked for some feedback. I think we've got feedback for days, Mike. I think that's one thing. We're just a couple guys who record our conversations throughout the week, and this is a good time to. We've got experience of breaking things.
Yeah, my biggest advice I could give to anybody making stuff out there is brute force. If you start doing something, don't stop until you feel like you've really put your best foot forward, because there's a lot of competition out there on the internet. I would say almost limitless competition. So if at first you don't succeed, just try again, man.
Yeah, brute force. Regularly, I think the one thing people ask is, how do you do a show every week? And, I think that's, we set a schedule, and, we made clear everyone around us knows that we're doing this on Sundays. We may not have an exact time, but everybody knows, and they respect that, and we always hit it. And I think consistency is part of that. You can't just say, I'm going to do a show, make an episode, and then forget about it for 2 months, and then come back and do it. Because people want to subscribe, they want to do it, and when you subscribe, guess what? You want that regular content. So I think my biggest thing is just regular content. Having a schedule is huge for a lot of people. They don't get over that hump, and that stumbles along the way. So got that. All right, let's jump into news. We've belabored this long enough, Mike, even though you said you weren't going to. We are. New York Comic Con has been canceled for in-person for 2020. No surprise here, to be honest. I think they say they've got a digital event planned, and if it's as bad as San Diego Comic Cons, you will probably be left disappointed. Now, New York was always more TV and I think comic book related, so hopefully they can still pull all that together. Definitely
more TV related, just because of the timing of the year. It just made sense to debut TV news there. And I would say the San Diego Comic-Con at home, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as bad as much as underwhelming and not even close to what you would get with a real Comic-Con experience. So they did the best, I believe, with what they had, but really it just opened up windows for everyone to do their own thing, like DC Fandome, and I'm sure Marvel will kind of have their own standalone thing later this year, where they drop some trailers of their Disney Plus shows and maybe put new hard dates in the ground for when we finally get to see Black Widow and some of this other stuff. So I don't know, maybe New York Comic-Con will get some I don't know, maybe we'll see the first trailer for like some of the reminiscent Hulu shows of Jeff Loeb. Hellstrom.
Hellstrom and
Hitmonkey, MODOK. Maybe we'll get a little bit of that in New York Comic Con.
Yeah, we can hope so. I think the thing is with San Diego, what happened is, people spend money to go to these things and they get a return, right? Or like they get the hype, you pay for the press. And a lot of those things, again, as we saw with the X-Men New Mutants, it was pre-recorded and you didn't really get that interaction like you kind of would. So I'm excited. We'll talk about DC's Fandome here in a minute. Like, taking that money and reinvesting it into your own stuff, I think is going to be a huge win for them. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. Mike, I've been working my way through this show on cartoons, and this is a big blow, I think, to fans everywhere. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've never watched the show. I'm in the middle of season 2. Just to let you know, I watched a couple episodes yesterday.
Awesome.
It is a good show. I think, again, I'm 15 years way too late for this. I have no complaints with it. I've seen the live action movie. I actually saw it in theaters. I was in the theater by myself. That's how bad. I think it's the only time I've ever been in a room by myself.
Wow.
That big. And then on that note, The Legend of Korra has just hit Netflix as of Friday as well. So I'm working my way through this animated show, and they're supposed to do a live action version on Nickelodeon. They committed to that a year and a half ago, I think.
It was produced from Nickelodeon, but it was going to air on Netflix.
Yes, because Nickelodeon Studios is making a lot more stuff. But the original animated series creators have left this live action project with Nickelodeon / Netflix. I think they're mostly their posts. They both made separate posts. Very angry at Netflix. It seems like.
It seemed like they tried their best to be professional about it, and I believe they are absolute professionals in the industry. They've been around for a while. Even before they created Avatar, they were working on other animated shows. I believe one of the creators may have even worked on Family Guy for a while, which just goes to show you the range that people in animation have, that they can work on a show like Family Guy and then make one of the most beloved animated shows ever right after it, you know?
Well, one of the things that I always look for as watching, I'm like, the guy who does We Want to Run Star Wars, his name, I can't think of his name.
Seth MacFarlane?
No, Star Wars. Who runs Star Wars? The guy We Want to Run Star Wars, Dave Filoni.
Yeah, there you go.
On like all these episodes, I'm like, I want to see a Dave Filoni episode. And I can usually tell when he's a director there, but yeah, here's where I'm gonna kind of go flip the script a little bit, Mike. Did you read any of their content or go back and look at their statements during the live action movie production and release?
No, the only thing I know about their involvement in the live action was that it seems like, I don't know if they were necessarily steamrolled, but it seemed like they didn't like what exactly was happening with the live action film. So I don't know if they're contractually obligated to not speak negatively of the film, or if their hands were just tied. But I know at some point in time they did come out and say that it was like the worst piece of trash ever.
Well, they're when it was being made, they were like, yes, this is awesome. We are giving input to, M. Night Shyamalan. And then when it came out and the reviews came out, they were like, no, we didn't do it. We actually didn't provide anything. So as creators, I understand there's probably two sides to this coin here, and we don't know the full story. But I'm sure a lot of people are very upset that these creators are not going to be involved with it as much. But they did have some involvement in the live action movie as well. So
yeah, I think the only thing that I could do is, if I had to give the benefit of the doubt to somebody, these creators or M. Night Shyamalan, I think it's much easier to give the benefit of the doubt to the co-creators.
Well, I wouldn't say that movie still sucked regardless of who did it. I don't think they necessarily ran it to the ground. But if they're not working on the Netflix one, but they mentioned in their post they have hired everyone to work on it so far, do you think it was still?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just want to know what the creative differences are, right? I mean, Netflix made this huge deal about they're going to be making this live action Avatar film, and to sway any worry that fans might have, is they made sure to say the original creators of Avatar are helming this show, which was great news. And now that they're off the show, it makes you wonder, well, what were the disagreements coming in? Like, was their creative vision not being seen? Was it just more kind of like just personalities rubbing against each other?
Was it budget? Like, hey, we want to do this stuff with the money. What do we have? And then it's like you've already run out.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I feel like there was a lot of potential there. Like you said, like we've seen with Dave Filoni, when people make the jump from action animation to live action, sometimes it can pay off extraordinarily well. I mean, just look at The Mandalorian. So it really sucks that they left, but I've been following the guys on social media for a while now. I've never met them in person, but they seem to be relatively low-key people. They're not like some of these other animation creators like Butch Hartman, who created like The Fairly Odd Parents and a bunch of other people. I mean, that guy is a huge personality that's out there. Rubs a lot of people the wrong way. So I'm just really curious what the creative differences are. But at the end of the day, I'm disappointed. But there is a little bit of saving grace that they had the decision to hire everybody that that made the show. So I'm really curious who they're going to bring in to replace them.
Well, and this is, I looked up here, it's actually been 2 full years since they were announced for this. So, do you think they wrote everything and they're like about to get into production? And it kind of like, is everything already set up and they're just like, well, we can't, something's happened and we can't do it now because, you won't do our budget. Like, it has the world's current change, with the coronavirus and the shutdowns and production woes, changed how Netflix is giving funding or how they're doing productions now.
If I had
because Netflix has had a good year, like Umbrella Academy 2 and so forth.
If I had to throw out like a wild conspiracy theory that's like totally unfounded, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the disagreements came with either episode number or story arcs or release strategy or maybe something along those lines. I mean, there's this big looming cloud over anybody out there that gets a deal with Netflix that you might not get a 4th season. If you do marginally well, we might be able to promise you a 3rd season, but if you're not bringing in new subscribers, we're going to cancel you. So, who knows if maybe they weren't, maybe there was an executive that said, hey, can you put books 1 and 2 into 1 season? Is there any way with 10 episodes you can like cram in all of this information just so there's the higher chance that we can get your whole story in 3 seasons? I mean, I could see that being a point of contention, but as of right now, it's just total guesses. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, see if any of it sticks.
Pretty much, they're both saying we're not happy. We made this decision to leave to be happy, and in a job and in stuff like that. What does that even mean in a film world anymore? Like creative differences, that's something like that. But I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll have to see what the next announcement is. And my assumption is now that Korra, it's weird that they did this the same week Korra is on, the streaming service, because they both created The Legend of Korra, which was the sequel follow-up to Avatar. So maybe we'll have an announcement shortly, next month.
Just like the live action film, if everything just tanks and ends up bad, you still have the perfect animated show. Just go watch that. It's great. Chris is already working his way through it.
I'm working my way through it. I saw the Steelbook collected edition at Best Buy today when I went to I picked up a new TV today. Didn't talk about that, but at Best Buy while I was waiting for that, no one was in the store, so I just kind of meandered over to the DVDs, and lo and behold, a steelbook copy of this.
Beautiful.
The show.
Beautiful.
I know. It looked cool. They even had the dividers in between the cases, like they weren't just like smushed together in the packaging. It was nice. It was nice. But speaking of Netflix, they have decided that their 3-second intro sound that you see on all their episodes is not long enough. It sounds like the Cartoon Network thing that they had like on all the regular shows, like the dun. It sounds like it's the cartoon the end of that, but anyway, or the end of regular show. But anyway, they have extended this intro to like 30 seconds for their theatrical release movies that Netflix is doing, to make sure that they get into the Oscars. Is that right? The Academy Awards.
It's pretty slick. I like it. I like this new intro. It gets me hype. The sound to me is reminiscent of maybe some of the themes that they use in some of the Avengers movies, some of the MCU stuff.
Yeah. So this is Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is notorious for working on the Batman or Superman trilogy from Zack Snyder. So he's got some superhero. Some background in him, he can kind of do with that. So I think it's fine. I think it's not too bad at all. Actually, I kind of enjoy it. So, good work, Hans Zimmer, and hopefully they don't get making this longer and longer.
Good work, Hans Zimmer. I think you're going places. I think this will give you a lot of exposure and get you some gigs that'll really kick off your career.
You really needed Superhero Slate to tell you that you're good. That really is going to get you somewhere.
Yeah, the Superhero Slate bump, as we like to call it.
Yeah. So, that's kind of what we're working on. But anyway, switching gears, speaking of Superman, Batman, stuff like that, DC Comics is just letting people go left and right.
Ooh, it was described as a bloodbath from whoever was reporting the news earlier this week.
Yeah, it was not good, and it doesn't sound like it's going to get any better, sadly. So they have let off like a third of their editorial staff, and most of them were VPs, so like the higher paid people, not that. DC Direct, which is a merchandise collectible line, is now dissolved, no longer exists after like 22 years. So you're going to have to go through Hot Toys and Sideshow Collectibles. And then lastly, the majority of DC Universe's staff is completely gone as well for the service.
I mean, there's a chance that the DC Universe staff may have been folded in or let go to HBO Max eventually anyway, so that one's not as much of a surprise. But man, I don't know if this is due to the coronavirus just kind of downward slump in the economy, or if this is just, AT&T acquired Warner Brothers not too long ago and they're just finally getting around to cleaning house and streamlining, or maybe this is a greater sign of just like, hey, we're not seeing a whole lot happening over here with the comics line. I think we need to focus other places, and you can still make comics. We still need to make sure that we have the street cred of comics, but we really got to trim you down so you're a little bit more profitable. I think it's more to the AT&T acquisition a little bit, because this also happened over at Warner Brothers, which is above DC. They also had a whole lot of streamlining layoffs over there, because that's what happens when you merge two giant corporations. You don't need all of these managers, because now you're just overseeing more people. It's kind of like when you close down schools in your city, all of these teachers now just have to teach more students. You don't have like two teachers in a classroom. Maybe this was coming, and no matter the pandemic.
As a comics reader and someone who frequents comic shops, the general consensus, I think, is AT&T doesn't want to do comic books. They just wanted their movie portion of Warner Brothers and the TV stuff, and they don't want to do comics, so they're looking at even selling off the comic section to another company.
That would be really dumb of them.
Well, rumor is Disney would also be the one to purchase it, so they would own both Marvel and DC comic books.
I mean, I wonder.
Could be good, could be bad. I don't know.
I wonder how that would even work. Obviously, they could publish it or whatever. But like, what if you have a really hot new Batman storyline, right? And the writer just comes up with this amazing new character, right? And then the artist just really nails the costume design. Now we have like this brand new character to the Batman mythos that everybody has fallen in love with. I mean, look at like Spider-Gwen or Miles Morales, right? And they want to adapt that into a movie. Who makes that movie now? Right. Who owns that character? Well, is there sharing there? And like, if this new Batman character like can't be in the Warner Brothers movies, like, does this new DC character like show up in the MCU? Like, that would, it could be possible.
I don't think it'd go in the MCU. I don't think it'd be that, like, that's far fetched. But I think from a comic standpoint, they could make them work. In like, whether it was the Amalgam universe or DC Marvel crossover in the wrong. But I don't think having different publishers is going to make things. Having two publishers in one is going to make things better. But I think the thing is, AT&T is like, they just don't see it as a profit. And then DC split with what was the distributor, Diamond Distributors this summer, which is like the only comics distributor in like the country, except for some smaller ones. So they're making some really interesting choices in terms of their projects. But again, DC Comics characters, they're iconic, right? Everyone knows a lot of those characters. It's hard to do that, and they're still creating new ones. There's a new Joker character. It's not Harley Quinn, it's another girl who's a sidekick, and I forget her name right now. I want to say it's like Punchline is her name. So they're still making new characters that people are going for. The Dark Knight's metal stuff is really interesting. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, so they're still doing good stuff. I don't know why. AT&T not wanting to do it, that's their choice. But I still think we need DC Comics as a whole. I don't think they need.
Oh yeah. So if I was in charge, I would say like, okay, maybe you don't need to run this at a profit, but at least run it at like making your money back, because you're just throwing away potential IP that could make you millions of dollars in the future.
And the other thing is, one of the aspects that they pitch DC Universe as is, you get our comics library, right? But no one's reading the comics on there. They're going for the TV shows. And that's going to bring me to my next point, Mike, is the DC Universe. Jim Lee, the guy running DC right now, has confirmed that all the original shows that they're creating for DC Universe will be moving to HBO Max.
Yep, we all saw that coming over here at the podcast.
Yeah, we saw it like the day of, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he talked about that the DC Universe will keep going, but something else. So will this be the comics outlet? We're making them, maybe we're saving money by not printing all of them, but we're putting them in a digital form for you to read at a subscription or purchase. Like, is that like the way they're going? Because, again, we're going to talk about something later. physical items are not like physical collectibles are not being prominently made right now because of contact concerns with this global pandemic we have. So if they're going to be making less books because of contact, will they move into a digital format and DC Universe get rid of shows and all the other content and just become like a comic book service?
Maybe. I mean, that's one strategy, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We don't make the decisions. We just work here. We just report the news and some theories. But that's going to bring us to our next big thing. A lot of this stuff may even get announced at DC's Fandome, Mike, which is this weekend.
I'm so excited. Like, this has been so long since we just had a big, I would say, high quality like news dump, right? Every once in a while we get a little here, we get a little bit of there. There's some casting news, or there's a little like on-set shot leaked, earlier this year. That was a possibility. Yeah. But now there's finally going to be like one dedicated weekend where hopefully when you're listening to the show next week, right? It would be our show next week where we're covering DC Fandome. We're just going to have bullet point after bullet point of just look at all the stuff that's released. Some of it will probably make us mad. Some of it will probably make us really excited. And I just love that. Like, this is something that we have just been desperately wanting this year, right? No San Diego Comic-Con. That means, and probably no D23. I don't know if D23 is supposed to be this year or not.
No,
definitely no Star Wars celebration. But anyway, we haven't had any of these like giant, like just like it's like going to a restaurant and getting this gigantic burger, right? You can't even imagine how you're going to take the first bite of it, and that's what I want. Even if like there's stuff in that burger that I don't really like, I want to take the bite, Chris. I want to take the bite.
Mike's gonna pick it off whether you like.
I'm hungry.
So the schedule is up, but the problem with the schedule is there are hundreds of panels. They are using there's 6 channels: Hall of Heroes, Watchverse, Uverse, Insiderverse, Funverse, and Kidsverse. They didn't call it the Fanverse at the end of the day. They should have been, instead of Fandome, Fanverse, because all these have verses. But like there will be double panels going on at once. So if you want to watch it all, you're going to have to watch some replays. The biggest thing here is it's going to be running from Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern to Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we may be running a little late on recording next week, Mike, but there's going to be some big stuff here. I'm very, very excited for. And I've got some highlights on our notes here with the Batman and the Suicide Squad footage expected to be released and shown to the public for this event.
Give it to us. I'm really curious how many of these panels are going to be live and how many of them are going to be pre-recorded, just because I believe I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw James Gunn kind of hyping the Suicide Squad panel that's going to be this coming weekend, and I think he showed like some of the footage of the panel. Like I saw like a couple quick clips of people like in like a stylized like Zoom UI, so I think some of this stuff might be pre-recorded, which makes sense, when you want to get these people together. Maybe this weekend wouldn't have been the best time for them to get together. But like I said before, if they're just like doing it like they did with Comic-Con at home, maybe you'll just be able to scrub all the way to the end and see the exclusive footage, and you won't have to sit through all of the introductions and everything. But we'll see.
Yeah, most of it I believe is Saturday, because I'm looking here right now at the Hall of Heroes, which is their main panel here, right? They've got again the Batman panel, the Aquaman panel, Black Adam panel, the Wonder Woman 84 Snyder Cut panel. Jesus Christ, I can't wait till we get more of that, right? But there is just a lot going on here. I'm going to talk about one of the items next, Suicide Squad, but I'm expecting, like I said, a full, a superhero Slate Dome next week, Mike. That's what we're going to call next week's episode, the Slate Dome.
The Slate Dome.
But it's got definitely, like, I mean, I'm just looking here again. There's an I'm Batman panel that's the voices behind the cowl. So, like, all the animated stuff.
Oh, Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, and all the movie ones. So, there's just going to be a lot for everybody. And, I hate to break it all down, but there's going to be, like, the TV shows have some stuff. And things like that. So I'm expecting a lot of news. So we'll have to keep you guys posted for that. But in terms of DC on the other side, since we were talking about Fortnite at the top of the show, if you play right now, Batman and Harley Quinn skins are back in the game. If you want to play as Batman or Harley Quinn in Fortnite, which is cool. But there was a leak that the Joker and Poison Ivy are going to be available in the game next week, which I believe ties into this whole panel. So they might have a Fortnite little video game panel here.
It's all about skins now. I saw that now brands are getting really interested in making skins for that new game called Fall Guys, which is supposed to be kind of like a video game version of like Wipeout, but with like a bunch of contestants running at the same time. I guess actually no, it's more similar to what's the real show that MXC is based off of, like Takeshi's Castle or something. Yeah, I think it's more like that. So a lot of skins out there in the world. It'd be interesting to see that game adapt skins, because that's kind of more like a Funko Pop-esque scenario where things are a little bit more cartoonized.
Well, as we talked about, when we talked about it, the game had only been out a week. So it's become the biggest game in the world in a week, and it's free for PlayStation Plus members right now, which is wild. So I think that it will get the corporate deals, the synergy, if you will, Mike, for those at a later date for sure. And lastly, the other thing I noticed on this panel, The Flash only has a 10-minute panel for its movie.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that makes me think that maybe they couldn't get anybody creatively involved in front of a camera, maybe because they're working on the movie right now. So maybe this is just going to be like a message, like a pre-recorded message from like the director.
Title reveal, I bet.
Title reveal, maybe even like a costume reveal. Maybe we can kind of see what Barry Allen's working with in this world, after the Justice League. Hopefully something, right?
Yeah, I mean, even if you get me a stylized teaser, I'll be happy. So
10 minutes is still a lot of time, actually. If you're factoring in a teaser trailer that's maybe like a minute or 30 seconds long, you still got like 9 more minutes to fill, right?
Well, the other thing is the Snyder Cut only, according to this, has 15 minutes as well, which. Again, that's just a teaser. He's going to show a teaser trailer. We're not going to get any more information. They're just going to give us a teaser. So we'll see what that is. But a lot of these are very, very quick snippets, and I want the big ones. I want the big panels. One of the larger ones is actually the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is the upcoming game from Rocksteady, which we talked about a little bit. The Suicide Squad. They now have the title Kill the Justice League. So. What do you think about that, Mike?
I love the idea just because kind of like the video game structure in my head starts firing off, and I think like, every chapter or every level, kind of level in the video game is, taking down like a new Justice League member, if you will. So I really like that idea, and I would imagine like Superman's either got to be the first person that you go after that kind of kicks off the plot, or like the last person that you go up against. So yeah, I really like this idea, and it kind of reminds me of like Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, right? I don't think these characters will be straight up dying. I think you floated the idea last week that maybe there's some mind control going on or something like that.
Yeah.
They're not of their right. They don't have their faculties about them, and Suicide Squad has to come in and like neutralize them and maybe give them some sort of antidote, force them to the ground.
The other thing is, what if they're like evil clones?
That's a possibility too. Then
Bizarro kind of thing. Yeah,
you could kill them. I guess it depends. What's this game going to be rated? How much havoc are you going to be able to wreak?
Well, with the title "Kill" in it, I think it's already.
Yeah! Wow! Yeah, I'm an idiot. I just totally blew past the very descriptive word "kill the Justice League."
Yeah. So I think it's in the top. I think this is cool. We don't know what the gameplay is like. We don't know if it'll be anything like the Batman games, but it is the same studio who has consistently brought us Batman games from Arkham. Was it Arkham Asylum all the way through Arkham Knight, and everything in between. So I'm very excited to see what they do with this and how they incorporate the DC universe at large and these different characters with different abilities. Right? Maybe you have Slipknot. He's good with ropes, and he blows up like the movie. So I'm excited to see what they do. I'm like, so we got video games to look forward to, and the other one at the end of this month is on the other side. Darth Vader Immortal, the PSVR version of this game that was on Oculus last year, is releasing on August 25th, Mike. You do not have much longer to wait.
I honestly just really lose track of a lot of these Star Wars VR experiences, because I think that's what a lot of developers first thought of when they thought of making VR video games or experiences. Like, Star Wars. I mean, that's great. You got a lightsaber. It's ready to go. So I thought Vader Immortal was already out on PSVR, but I guess it's not.
No.
And after watching the trailer, I think I asked you, like, is James Earl Jones still alive? And I had to look it up. He's 89, so I hope he lives for another 30, 40 years, and he's very happy and healthy. But I think it's fair for me to ask that question.
Yeah, I don't think he does the voice. I think somebody else does the voice.
Well, what I was thinking, I was like, I think we're at the point in technology now where if we can just make people younger and generate them. I mean, I'm skipping the point here where I already know this exists, but like I wouldn't be surprised if James Earl Jones's voice has been like digitized in a library, and then they have an algorithm that can make him say whatever they want him to say.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he looked old enough. You didn't think he'd make another year in The Sandlot, and that was like 94. So I mean, he
was in The Sandlot, wasn't he? He was the guy that was on the other side of the fence with the dog, right?
Yep, he's the blind neighbor. Yeah, so he was old back then, Mike. I mean, let's be honest here.
Perma old.
Yeah, so I think this is fun. Maya Rudolph is the voice of Zoe the robot. The Saturday Night Live alum. She played, ironically, I believe she was the caricature of Kamala Harris in the Democratic.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people tweet this week. Oh, she's about to get a lot of work, and I was like, she's already famous. She's already getting a lot of work. I don't think she needed this VP pick to make sure she could pay for her next house, if you will. So she's
been in tons of movies, but she's
already successful. SNL is things that like actors go back to out of the kindness of their own heart. Like, I liked working there. I'll come back in for a minute, give you guys a little boost.
Yeah, I'm gonna show up for 10 seconds on your show because I like you guys. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, this looks like the robot looks fun. The training dojo is one of the highlights, they say, where you learn to block again like bolts and use your force powers a little more. So it was a 3-part release on Oculus. This will be all together in this PSVR version. So I'm excited to dive into that this week. But speaking of games, before I jump into this next one, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster, that you can pre-order in the warehouse level. You can download it for free now if you pre-ordered it. So it's got the same soundtrack, Mike. Do you remember that soundtrack?
Oh, I love that soundtrack. Iconic. Dun 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 dun.
Yes.
That just played for hours at a time.
Yeah, it goes. I need to collect the Mountain Dew tokens like we talked about last time.
Yep.
But that's another story. Instead, this weekend, I have been diving into the Avengers beta. Round 2 is open for PlayStation people. I've gotten several people to download and play it to get their impressions, and I've been doing it on Xbox, which is my main console for the pre-order. And I got to play with Superfan Jim on Friday night. A couple.
Hey,
levels.
Awesome!
So the matchmaking was working this weekend. They did an update to that, and it was really fun. On the PlayStation, I've been maining Black Widow and Iron Man, and on the Xbox, I've been using Kamala and Hulk. To kind of play with the different characters and see how they feel. But I've had a really good time. Again, once the matchmaking was working, playing with other people, way better than playing with just the AI. Like, I did the Harm Room Challenge, which is like the holographic augmented reality thing where you go in battle. And playing that with people against like increasingly difficult waves of enemies, get some really cool effects. And like the combos of finishing off large robots or large enemies is just fantastic, like stuff right out of comic books, Mike. It's fantastic. I'm very thrilled with this game so far, and you can max it to level 15, and then you get better gear. And the gearing has been really cool to see, like the PIM particles, right? So on Kamala, I've got PIM particles, and I'm punching people on like the third punch. It's like a 33% chance they start shrinking to like itty bitty versions in the game. And then you just beat up the little bitty versions.
So does is your progress during this beta going to carry over when the game fully comes out?
No, it is only limited to the beta because it's selected levels. It's not a full game. So
gotcha.
I'm going to start from ground zero and then play through as each character in the levels and go from there. They don't have Thor and Captain America. I'm very excited for Thor and Captain America. They're like my favorite two in the 8A to play. So very hyped, very hyped. And then there's leaked data in the newest versions pointing to plans to add Kate Bishop, She-Hulk, and War Machine to the game as well. The only reason I say these are interesting because literally they're like different skins of the main characters.
Yeah,
Kate Bishop
true.
is Hawkeye, She-Hulk would be Hulk, and War Machine would be an Iron Man. So I don't know if they're going to be like new characters, maybe AI, NPCs, or just like different skins of the characters. So I thought that was cool that they're going to be diving into this stuff. I'm very excited to see how the skin shot plays out.
Got to get people familiar with Kate Bishop and She-Hulk before they release those Disney Plus shows, right?
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. They definitely need some coverage. I really wish Mike would have got it, but he wants to play it from Day Zero, day one.
I'm more of a casual over here on this side of things. I'll wait till the game's fully out and I can just concentrate on what's already been polished.
Yeah. Well, and that's definitely fair. I think, knowing Mike, you're gonna want to min-max some of these characters pretty. You're gonna be looking for gear to equip and skills to get. So I'm excited to see what you read on Reddit after that. But if you get the PlayStation version, Mike, and you pre-order it, you get 3 days. I think the deluxe version, 3 days early access. So if you're looking to get it on the 1st of September, just let you know. And Spider-Man, the game that I've been playing on my PlayStation 4 as well, it does not exist in the same universe as the Avengers game. So
not surprised.
The Spider-Man that will be in the game, he may have a suit to look like it, but it is not the same one. He will have a very unique storyline.
Yeah, it was a far-fetched wish that we would get to see these games kind of cross over, but I suppose in the long run, it's probably the best for these developers since video games take so long to make, so much longer than it takes to make a movie. So at least now nobody's hands are tied of just like, oh well, Spider-Man did this thing in this game made by another studio, and now we got to make sure that all this stuff carries over to our new game. So not surprised, but it would have been cool if they could have made it happen.
Well, my hope is, Mike, that this comes out in like 2 weeks and they're like, nah, it's the same universe. We got you good.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess it's not illegal to lie, right?
Yeah, we got you. We lied to you. You thought that wasn't going to be in there, but guess what? It is. But I think the Avengers is like a time jump as well, so I don't know how that would play well with the upcoming Miles game on PS5. Speaking of Spider-Man 3, I saw this pop up and people were asking about it. Like, the rumor is that Spider-Man 3 Homesick is the title of the upcoming Spider-Man 3 movie. It's not the title. That no one has said this. It's all pure speculation from this.
I don't particularly like the title either because it seems like the implications are going to be that he is home in this film. In this movie, he's back at New York, back in Brooklyn. I suppose maybe homesick could be factored in if like he's in like maybe SHIELD witness protection and he can't literally go back to his house. But I don't know.
We want him in the city of New York though. That's the thing. Like we never got him see except for like the one scene.
Yeah, the title doesn't roll off the tongue as much to me. I mean, if it ended up being the title, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's just the title. But it seems like it would be weird if they didn't stick with kind of the home naming mechanism, right? So home's got to be involved. Somebody's already thought of the title. Somebody out there is already right. We just need confirmation, right?
Yeah, we just got to figure out exactly what it is, and even if it is homesick, and they like because what was it? How long did they tell us in-game wasn't the title of Avengers 2 or Avengers 4? And they were like, yeah, it's in-game. We got you good. Marvel, you lying sons of bitches. You get us every time.
I mean, I could see them dovetailing a little bit of the way. Like, what if it was like, it could be Spider-Man housewarming or something like that, because it's like house, home, kind of the same. I don't know exactly what that would indicate with the plot of the movie, but, they could maybe go that direction a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking like house arrest. If he was like,
oh yeah, maybe
wanted something like that, like to tie into it. But again, who knows how the story's going to go? We've got several Marvel movies in between there that we may or may not get to see at this rate, and TV shows. So regardless, we're excited for Spider-Man 3. The first time in forever we've wanted to see a Spider-Man 3, Mike.
What? I'm surprised people like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, do you remember the last Spider-Man 3?
Yeah,
exactly. Don't get too hopes up. Avengers Infinity War still making news. There was a 3D model of the pager that someone found, and it was has a sword reference on the back of the pager.
I think that's so cool. I love news like this because it's just like you can just imagine that if you were on set when they shot that after credit scene with Nick Pager calling Captain Marvel, if I was just on set, if I just flipped that pager over, we would have been ahead of the game. We would have been ahead of the last Spider-Man movie of knowing the existence of a sword. So it's kind of cool to see that they were thinking of it even back then. And it makes me think at some point where we're just like, was it the person that modeled the pager that was just like, oh, it'd be a fun reference to put sword on the back? Or did they think maybe at some point in time someone was going to turn over the pager? Or usually you think kind of like these things are siloed off, right? The 3D modeler or the prop maker that has to make the pager for this post-credit scene, like he's not in the same whiteboard meetings with Kevin Feige. Does that mean that he knew that sword was going to be a thing even that far ahead of time?
So here's the thing. the pager was made for Captain Marvel, and then they shot the post-credit scene after they shot Captain Marvel. So the pager had to line up.
Well,
because
but also, even with the Captain Marvel movie, sword isn't referenced.
It didn't exist, but they could. That's. I think they'd be like, okay, we're making this for Captain Marvel. She's going to space at the end of it. She's going to leave this pager behind, and he's like, oh, Space Marvel. I could put sword on here, which is a fun reference that no one may or may not see.
Yeah, I just love the idea of just like something in the movie. Like if I could just go into the scene right now and just turn this prop around, I could be a year and a half ahead of everybody else in the MCU. If I could just turn this thing around, so it's pretty cool. If you look up the news story, there's actually like a picture. I think it's on Reddit, right, in one of the Marvel Reddits where you can see the printing of it. It's like really small. It's not like big bold letters, sword written in Sharpie on the back of it. But I think everybody knows that listens to the show that I'm like super amped for a space station in the MCU. It's just gonna give so much more believability to kind of our heroes and our storylines reaching out into space from Earth, because everything's so terrestrial now. So it's kind of fun to see the world of the MCU kind of like slowly evolving into space.
Yeah, well, I think without the Guardians of the Galaxy on the horizon, that's about where we can look to. So, knock on wood. Also, just a side note, every MCU theatrical release except The Incredible Hulk is on Disney Plus now. Ant-Man and the Wasp moved over from Netflix this week as well. You go.
So you can almost be a completionist.
Do you need to watch it though? I thought about it long and hard, and I'm like,
all they need to do is go over to your house, Chris, and knock on your door, and I'm sure you got a steelbook for them.
I had 3 copies of this at one point. It was too many copies.
Isn't the steelbook green for the Incredible Hulk?
Like the original Blu-ray was green.
Okay.
But the steelbook, because it's not made by Disney, is made by Universal. Yeah. It doesn't fit in with the rest of them, but that's fine. It's perfectly fine. Whatever. The only thing that carries over from The Incredible Hulk is General Ross. So that's about it. It's fine. I think it's a fine movie. Universal owns it, so Disney's never going to let you watch it. I think I even looked it up on Just Watch. You can't find this movie anywhere else to stream, so good luck with that. Speaking of Disney and their movies and 4K stuff, they are now limiting the number of 4K titles released on physical media in the future. Now, this means anything retroactively will not be upscaled. I had to go look this up because they're not releasing new 4K movies. They're just not going backwards to upscale 4K movies to physical. Those put up on digital.
So they're not going to try to push old content on you with the 4K. More than likely what they would do, if they did upscale it, they'd just be like, oh, 4K now streaming on Disney+.
That's exactly what it is. So like I think like most of the Fox ones are done, they said, and like they're not going to do physical. And a lot of it boils down to not because they don't want to. People will buy this stuff. It's those coronavirus concerns with handling physical media still. Where these are made, where they're being shipped to, how do they control this, the production and the handling. And so a lot of physical stuff is being kind of canned right now. It may come back later, but like in the interim, digital's the way to go, kind of thing.
I mean, also this is one of the advantages that Disney Plus had from the very beginning is, unlike Netflix where you have to pay for a premium tier to get the 4K streaming, you don't have to do that over at Disney Plus. So this kind of helps them maybe compete against Netflix a little bit more too.
I've tried to stream a 4K movie from my media server to my Apple TV locally, right? Full 4K. That thing, my network barely handles it, Mike, and I have a pretty good setup here. 4K is, the new TV I bought's 4K HDR, but I'm probably going to only be watching 1080 movies on it because, man, that bandwidth allocation for 4K is ridiculous. The thing is, what people don't realize, 1080 stretched twice is 4 of those squares. So it's 4x the data, 4x the bandwidth. So it's wild. But, I mean, as someone who, you're a digital person, Mike, you've been in that well ahead of me. Does this affect you at all, that you can't get your hands on older movies? Okay.
Not yet, because I don't have a 4K TV yet. I think I think like a lot of consumers out there yet, they haven't quite moved on to the 4K upgrade. Now I think it'll happen like the next cycle, right? Because I would think almost most of the mainline TVs in stores right now are 4K televisions. Nobody wants to buy something that's going to be old like a week later. But yeah, the TV I've had for probably like 4 or 5 years now. It's 1080. I get everything that I want out of it right now. So until I get the need to really play something in 4K, which will probably be next gen consoles, I just don't need the 4K stuff right now.
Yeah, does your PlayStation output 4K? I don't think it does it? It doesn't have a 4K.
No,
player.
it's just it's not the Pro. It's just the slim PS4.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that in the TVs. I was looking like for $400, you can get like a 50-inch 4K TV now. So like it's easily doable. But
you sent me the link to the TV that you picked up today, and I looked at it. I was like, dang, this thing's like only like $600. I bought like a 32-inch. LCD TV back in the day that was like this much. It's crazy.
Yeah, the prices are ridiculous. And I bought one that was like a little. I think the only reason it has like more HDMI ports because most of them ship with 2 now. I'm like, what 2 things are you plugging into your TV? Like, how do you only have 2? Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think it's easy to get them. But at the same time, how do you get a player that works on that? Like, where do you watch your 4K at? Like, do you have a Roku 4K? I guess. I mean, I know they have them, but. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Tron 3 officially in the works with Jared Leto and director Garth Davis. And even though the trades are saying this is officially in the works, it's still not given a green light yet. So it may get up to the point of filming and they can still pull the can. So I don't know what this means.
Yeah, I'm curious if this is a decision maybe based on analytics, right? Because we talked about, the prop show that's on Disney Plus, where I think, is it the first episode that they talk about Tron?
Yeah.
Or is it later on?
The first one is Mary Poppins, second was Tron.
Gotcha. So maybe they're looking at the Disney Plus analytics. They're just like, okay, well, people are really digging this Tron episode of the prop show. People are streaming the Tron movies on our Disney Plus platform. We have the data here. There's an appetite for this Tron stuff. Jared Leto's hot right now. So maybe we make a third Tron movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't make it to theaters. Maybe it's a Disney Plus exclusive.
Well, also, Jared Leto, I think, is just a Tron fan, and maybe there's no mention that any of the cast from the last movie will even come back. Even though I'd like to see Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde come back, and what's the dude, Jeff Bridges, but like there's no word that like they're even involved. So is this like kind of like a soft reboot? Is it the future of it? What does it look like? And Jared Leto, how much of this is he like producing himself to kind of push it forward rather than Disney being like, yeah, we might.
Yeah, I would like to see something new and creative, maybe done with this specific installment, because the first film, was groundbreaking and trailblazing for the special effects. Even the second movie was kind of one of the first films to do the de-aging actor. I don't know technically if it gets full credit for, being the first, but it definitely did it before we were seeing it in a lot of the MCU and big budget stuff. So it'd be cool maybe if they did something new and unique for Tron 3. I don't know what it would be, but I'm looking forward to maybe somebody flexing over there. Yeah,
I mean, what the internet was back in the 80s versus what the internet is when Tron 2 was made versus what the internet is even now. Whole different worlds. Hopefully it's not a Wreck-It Ralph 2 scenario.
No,
it's all emojis and.
I have my wild theory and guess is that this is going to be a choose your own adventure interactive movie, kind of what Netflix has been dabbling in. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm not saying I'm craving interactive content, but it seems like Tron 3 might be a decent property to maybe try it out with.
Scratch that. This is the next evolution of Quibi. You watch it all on your phone. Bites. You can choose the actions on your phone, Mike, the whole way through.
Oh man. Well, I was thinking of new video technologies, like the face swapping technology is getting pretty mainstream now. There's like an app that's going around that's kind of viral where you can put your faces on people in music videos. Like maybe you could be watching it and just like. Yeah, like, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this actor's face. Let me swap in this actor, or let me de-age this actor with a slider. I mean, that would be wild. They're not going to do that, but it would be pretty crazy, right?
Here's the thing. We're going to switch gears because you're leading literally into our next topic here.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even realize it.
You didn't even realize it. So Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead movie, which was filmed last year, I think it's a Netflix movie, will replace troubled actor Chris, is that Delia?
Della. I always say it Della, but I'm not 100% sure how it's said.
With comedian and Star Trek Discovery actress Tig Notaro.
I love Tig Notaro. If you're not familiar out there, she's a stand-up comedian that has a very dry wit, which I really, really love. She had a short-lived show on, I think it was Amazon Prime. I think it was called Mississippi 1, if I remember correctly. But she's just hilarious. She does a really good job kind of treading through some traumatic stuff that she's gone through with her life with some really funny humor. She has this amazing bit in the last stand-up special I watched from her. I don't know if she has a new one out recently, where she has this oncoming gag where she, through her whole special, she's like, wouldn't it be so hilarious if I brought out what's that famous female all female kind of like indie folk group? I can't think of their name off the top of my head, but she teases that she's going to
Sarah?
No, but she teases that she's going to bring them out through the whole act, and then she's like, no, they're not actually here. They're not actually here. Like, or maybe they are. Then the crowd laughs, and then no. But then at the very, very end, she does actually bring them out. It's hilarious. But anyway, that's my long-winded way to say Tig Notaro is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and like I said, I only know her from the newest Star Trek Discovery series. So she was in that, but she's got a huge list of filmography, a little like indie stuff, if you will. But she's looking. They're going to replace the actor Chris with digital and green screen replacements, like in every shot. He wasn't the main actor. I had to look this up. Dave Bautista is like the main actor, and there's this one person who is they're in a group of mercenaries going into the zombie world to get something or other. So they're going to use green screen and face replacements to do shot by shots like of this with Tig replacing Chris and put it back in the movie because they're not refilming this movie they filmed last year for Netflix. This is a wild thing.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because if anybody's kind of up for this specific task, I would say Zack Snyder is, just because he is just like so in depth in going back and redoing films, and also just kind of very special effects heavy films. So if he could pull it off, I think he could. I think this is also just kind of meta hilarious as well. Just because Chris Della is kind of being outed for kind of misogynistic and sexist things, and then they literally replace him with a very female-focused feminist, comedian. So I think that's really great and ironic. But also, like I said at the top of the show before we started recording, the wife and I are going back and rewatching How I Met Your Mother, and they do this really funny bit in one episode where they bring in Will Sasso to play like a bartender, and the joke is, this bartender has always been there. He's always been in the background. We're just now getting around to telling a story about this character played by Will Sasso. So they went back and they edited some kind of iconic scenes from older episodes, and they just like digitally put Will Sasso in the background. And he's just standing there like, oh, hey, this is great, guys, huh? I've been here the whole time. And I'm just imagining like doing that with like Tig Notaro, like, just put her in the background. She's just like kind of standing around like Vince from Pulp Fiction. He has the coat on his jacket and he's got his hands up like, where am I? What's going on?
Oh yeah, I totally see that, like just leaning into like how unbelievably fake it looks the whole way through. Just like, yeah, it's whatever. We're in a movie with zombies. So I'm this movie I forgot kind of existed because Zack Snyder's been working on his Snyder Cut for so long. So
yeah, I mean I think we were both kind of looking forward to this film just because the premise sounded very interesting.
He did Dawn of the Dead remake in 2004 2005, the one that James Gunn rewrote, right? And it's an awesome zombie movie. It's a great zombie movie, especially with since it's a remake of Dawn of the Dead, and it was great. So hopefully that this was going to be something similar to that. Hopefully directing all these large movies has not gone to his head, and something small is exactly what he needed to do to work stuff out of his system. But like now they've got to go back and edit it even more. So do you think this will delay it another year? I know we don't have a release date, but like how long do you think they'll take to do this?
Yeah, I guess he's got to finish the Snyder Cut first, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like a lot of stuff, even over on Netflix, all digital, is still having to move stuff around in their schedule. So there's a chance even if it was done, it might have been moved anyway.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, it still looks like it's moving along, and Netflix is, rather than trashing it because of one bad, minor character, they've decided to kind of go with it. So
very curious to see how they pull it off. That's for sure.
Watch it be like 3 scenes total. That's what I'm expecting for. Tenet, right? Tenet.
Am I saying this right?
Because you got me self-conscious about this now.
Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
Tenet is what I was saying. Tenet. August 26th release is still planned. Mike, tickets are on sale now. Go get them. Buy them up. Get to the movie theaters.
I mean, this is the this is the international release, right? I suppose it could land in the United States in some select audiences, right?
It is at this is for the. I'm only saying this because it is for the American release. I don't know about ticket sales internationally.
I mean, I would be shocked if anybody in California gets a shot to watch this movie, considering how things are not really improving that well out here. But I think
AMC is doing like 15-cent tickets when they reopen at the end of the month, which is.
I think they're doing a little bit of damage control with that promo.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was not a very good promo. So I mean, I don't know if AMC doesn't have the prices for this, but I've seen some smaller markets have some of these screenings for this, and that goes into the next.
I think I did see some news recently, since we're talking about movies coming out. I think the new SpongeBob movie that is still, I believe, supposed to be coming out VOD, or PVOD, premium VOD, however we're saying it now. That came out in Canada this weekend, and I think it just barely posted like $1 million at the box office, but like technically it's the #1 film in Canada right now this weekend. So I suppose
when you're the only movie in theaters, you get that opportunity.
I suppose if you're a Canadian, you have a little bit more flexibility with what you can do with your life right now.
Yeah, probably doing better. What was it? New Zealand had 4 cases and shut down the whole country again.
Yeah,
they're harsh over there. That's where they're filming most of these things. So I don't know how a lot of the filming's going to go with that. On top of that. But that brings me to the next thing. New Mutants, still coming to theaters August 26th, is all the promotional materials now.
Just get it out there. We're probably going to watch it with Korean subtitles because I'm not about to go out into the world and infect myself.
Give me the premium. I will pay iTunes or Amazon to watch this. Just put it up for me. I don't want to watch it in theaters. Just put it up for us so we don't have to do the other ways with all the people standing up in the theater and all the sounds.
I mean,
problems.
I'm not dropping $30 for Mulan, but I'd drop $30 for New Mutants just because I'm so dang curious.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see it. I want to see it so bad because we haven't really seen anything superhero related, in the main.
We got to do the spoiler cast on it. It's just been dangling forever.
Yeah, we've been hyping this up since 2017. We were still fresh at that point, right? Like 2 years into this thing, and now here we are 6 years in, and we still don't have it. So I don't know what's happening with this movie. But we want to see it. So if you get a chance and you are going to the theaters to watch these movies, please be safe. Yes. Be careful. We want you to come back and listen to us. And don't ruin it for us if you do see it early, because that'll be upsetting. But if you send us a review, that's perfectly fine. Just say, hey, spoilers, and then leave like 20 lines and then give us your review. That'd be perfectly good. So you can do that. Anyway, Mike, it's time to wrap up the show. It's 8 o'clock here. I'm going to go eat some dinner before I edit this sucker and put it up for the public to listen to. But if people want to know what you're up to and what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Working on a new one this week. Hopefully you'll see it by the end of the week. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see what you're doing, I'm assuming you're going to be live streaming yourself turning off motion smoothing on your brand new TV. Where can they find that?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Twitter, Valdan, Valdan. I've been actually, because of our friend of the show, Quentin Parker, has been streaming. Follow him on Twitch, right? Is it Bougie Q?
Yes, Bougie Q over Twitch. If you're a fan of Apex, apparently he's really good at Apex. Because I always assume in battle royale games it's very very hard to get the W. I mean, I've yet to do it in a game of Call of Duty, but apparently he's posting clips all the time of him winning Apex games. I don't know how he does it, so I guess he's really good at the game.
Well, he got himself a face cam and he's using that along with this Twitch stream, and he's trying to get to a higher status. So I want people to go out and do us a favor this week. If you do anything at all, just go subscribe to his Twitch channel. Yeah,
he's trying to hit his goal of 50 followers, right?
Yeah, something like that. Guess how much that costs to follow him, Mike?
Nothing.
It's free. if you do it for us. Do it for the Vine. They don't have Vine anymore.
I'll make sure it's up here in the show notes for people.
Yeah. But he's been streaming, so I've been trying to figure out how maybe I can stream the Avengers game when it comes out, because I'm going to be wanting to do that. And the last thing I streamed was Iron Man's VR for a little bit, like 2 hours, and before that was Spider-Man. So all these Marvel games really I want to stream. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that before that launches. So yeah, I'll probably be putting it on those channels rather than turning off motion smoothing. All right, Mike, people want to know where they can follow us, find us, see more, leave a review even. Where can they do that at?
Oh, it's so easy to do, Chris. All you got to do is head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the places we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. Our show notes are even extra awesome this week because we got 3 shout-outs to 3 fans of the show at the top of the notes. So please go check that out. Those awesome links there. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts like ours. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and the Gram, and you can get swag at superheroslate.com/store. Obviously, we love hearing from you because when we hear from you, we like to promote you. So if you're working on any really cool stuff that you want us to know about, send it on over our way, and we'd love to give you a plug. Paying it forward, if you will, because we love it that you guys are listening to us, and we want people to pay attention to you. So reach out. We love hearing from you, and we love our super fans. So if you want to be a super fan of this show to get the glorious opportunity to play online Avengers with Chris, you got to have that super fan check mark, or he's not going to accept your friend request.
Hey. Well, on that note, the Avengers beta is open for everybody, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC next weekend, and you can preload it probably on Wednesday or Thursday. So keep your eye out if you want to try it before it comes out without having to pre-order it. Hop onto that thing and just add Valdan on Xbox, Valdan87 on PlayStation.
Yeah, so, but like I said, he's not going to accept that friend request unless he knows you're a super fan.
You got to share.
In order to be a super fan, you just got to share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, baby. Stay tuned. Next week, Fandome.
Superhero Slate Dome, Mike.
Yeah, the Dome. Take it to the Dome.
2 guys enter.
Oh,
one man probably leaves.
I said take it to the Dome, and I think that's like a double. It's like a double entendre because I think it can be sexual but also violent. So
let's not do that.
Take it to the Dome? Question mark.
Question mark. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Look to the chicken nuggets.
Look to the candy. Look to the online shopping.
Look to Zuck.